It was raining hard that night. The sky was dark, and the road looked empty and endless. Streetlights flickered as if they were tired of standing guard. Water flowed like small rivers along the broken road. No cars passed by. No voices were heard. Only rain, wind, and silence filled the air. Under an old bus stop, a small boy stood alone. He was around 8 years old. His clothes were thin and soaked. His shoes were torn, and his hands were shaking. He hugged himself, trying to stay warm. His eyes were wide, full of fear and confusion. He kept looking behind him, as if something terrible was chasing him. Not far away, a shadow moved slowly. It was a dog. The dog was dirty and tired, with wet fur stuck to his body. One of his legs looked hurt, and he walked with pain. He had no collar, no owner, and no home. The rain did not stop him. He stood still, watching the boy from a distance. The boy wiped his face with his sleeve. Rain mixed with tears. He did not know where to go. Home was not safe. The man there shouted, broke things, and hit when he was angry. Tonight, the man was worse than ever. The boy could still hear his angry voice in his head. That voice followed him into the rain. A loud thunder broke the silence. The boy jumped. His heart beat fast. He moved closer to the bus stop wall, hoping it could protect him. His stomach hurt from hunger. His body hurt from cold. But more than that, his heart hurt from fear. The dog took a slow step forward, then another. His ears were up. His eyes stayed on the boy. He had learned to be careful. Humans had not always been kind to him. Stones, sticks, and angry shouts were part of his past. Still, something about the boy felt different. The boy noticed the dog and froze. His breath stopped for a moment. He had seen angry dogs before. He stepped back, his back touching the cold wall. His small hands turned into fists. He was ready to run, even though he had nowhere to go. The dog stopped moving. He did not bark. He did not growl. He simply stood there, letting the rain fall on his face. His eyes were calm, not angry. Slowly, he sat down. His tail did not move, but his body stayed low and quiet. Minutes passed. Rain kept falling. The boy's fears slowly changed into confusion. The dog was not leaving. He was not coming closer either. He was just there, present, silent. Far away, a shout cut through the rain. The boy knew that voice. His body went stiff. Fear rushed back into his chest. Someone was looking for him. Someone dangerous. The dog heard the sound too. His ears moved. His body became tense. He stood up again, placing himself between the boy and the dark road behind him. The boy did not understand why, but he felt something strange. For the first time that night, he did not feel completely alone. The rain, the darkness, the fear were still there. But now there was also the quiet presence of a broken dog standing guard. The boy slowly slid down and sat on the wet ground. His legs felt weak. He rested his head on his knees and closed his eyes for a second. The dog stayed alert, watching the road. Rain washed over them both, but neither moved away. In that quiet moment, the world seemed to pause. The storm above continued, yet something gentle began to grow between fear and hope. It was small, fragile, and easy to miss, but it was real. And sometimes that is how the strongest stories begin. This night would test courage, pain, and trust. What happened next would decide whether darkness won, or kindness survived against all odds. The rain kept falling. Unaware, it was witnessing the start of unforgettable. The rain did not stop when the boy opened his eyes again. It felt heavier now, colder, like it wanted to wash the night away. The boy stayed still, listening. The angry voice he feared was gone for the moment, lost somewhere in the storm. His heart was still beating fast, but his body slowly relaxed. The dog remained standing, facing the road. Water dripped from his ears and nose. His injured leg shook, yet he did not sit down. Pain was familiar to him. Leaving the boy alone felt worse than pain. He had learned long ago that nights could turn dangerous very quickly. The boy slowly looked up at the dog. He studied him carefully. The dog looked tired and thin. One eye had a small scar, and his fur was rough. He did not look strong, but he looked brave. The boy felt a strange warmth inside his chest. He whispered a soft thank you, though he was not sure why. Memories rushed back into the boy's mind. The small house, the broken door, the man's red face and heavy steps. the shouting that came without warning. The boy remembered hiding under the table, holding his breath, praying to be invisible. Tonight, hiding had failed. Running was the only choice left. The dog sensed the boy's fear returning. He turned his head slightly, checking on him. When their eyes met, the dog lowered his head a little, showing no threat. It was a simple movement, but it mattered. Trust is built from small moments, especially between the broken. A car passed far away, its lights flashing like ghosts in the rain. The boy hoped it would stop. It did not. The road swallowed the sound, leaving silence behind. He felt forgotten by the world. The dog, however, stayed. Slowly, carefully, the boy reached out his hand. His fingers shook as they moved through the cold air. He stopped halfway, fear holding him back. The dog did not move. He waited. After a few seconds that felt like forever, the boy touched the dog's wet fur. The dog did not pull away. He did not flinch. He only breathed out softly. The boy smiled for the first time that night. It was small and weak, but real. He gently rested his hand on the dog's head. The dog closed his eyes for a moment, enjoying the touch. Thunder rolled again, louder this time. Both of them looked up at the sky. The storm showed no mercy. The boy's teeth started to shake. Without thinking, the dog slowly moved closer. He lay down beside the boy, pressing his warm body against him. The boy leaned into the dog. He felt heat, life, and comfort. Tears rolled down his face, but these were different tears. They carried relief, not only fear. He wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. Holding on like the dog was the last safe thing left in the world. Time passed quietly. Rain fell. Wind howled. Two lonely souls shared warmth under a broken shelter. Somewhere in the distance, the angry man shouted again. This time, the sound was closer. The dog's eyes opened at once. His body stiffened. He gently moved away from the boy and stood up, placing himself in front again. His low growl mixed with the rain. It was not loud, but it was serious. The boy's heart dropped. He knew the man was coming. Fear tried to take over again, but something had changed. He was not alone anymore. The dog was ready to face danger with him. Lightning lit up the road, showing a dark figure walking fast toward them. Heavy steps splashed through water. The man's shadow grew larger with every second. The dog stepped forward, ignoring the pain in his leg. He planted his feet firmly on the ground. The boy stood up behind him, shaking but determined. Whatever happened next would not be faced alone. In the heart of the storm, a scared child and a wounded dog prepared to stand against fear together. The rain continued to fall, hiding tears, washing pain, and carrying them toward a moment that would change everything. Forever changed. The man stepped closer, his shape clear now under the weak streetlight. Rain ran down his face, and anger burned in his eyes. He smelled of alcohol and rage. His fists were tight, and his steps were heavy. Each splash on the road felt like a warning. The boy felt his legs shake behind the dog. Fear rose again, sharp and cold. He wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. The bus stop was broken, the road empty, the night cruel. He held onto the dog's back, pressing his face into wet fur, trying to disappear. The dog stood firm. His body was low, his teeth showing. A deep growl came from his chest. Pain shot through his injured leg, but he did not move. Protecting the boy mattered more than pain. This was not a choice. It was instinct. The man laughed, a harsh sound lost in the rain. He raised his foot and kicked toward the dog. The kick hit the dog's side. The dog fell, sliding on the wet road. The boy screamed and rushed forward, tears pouring down his face. Before the man could reach the boy, the dog pushed himself up. His body shook, but his eyes were fierce. He barked loudly, a sound full of warning and courage. He rushed at the man, snapping at his legs. The man stepped back, surprised. He cursed and grabbed a stick from the ground. He swung it wildly. The dog moved fast, avoiding the hit, biting the man's shoe. The man lost balance and fell into the water. The boy watched, frozen between fear and hope. His heart pounded in his ears. He wanted to help, but he was small and weak. All he could do was shout, hoping someone would hear. Lights turned on in nearby houses. Curtains moved. Doors opened. People began to notice the noise. The man stood up, angry and embarrassed. He kicked at the dog again, but this time he missed. The dog barked louder, calling for help without words. His voice cut through the rain. The boy joined him, screaming with all his strength. The storm carried their cries down the street. A neighbor stepped outside with a phone. Another shouted for the man to stop. The man looked around and realized he was no longer alone. Fear replaced anger on his face. Sirens sounded in the distance, faint but growing louder. The man tried to grab the boy, but the dog jumped in front again, teeth flashing. The man hesitated. Then he turned and ran into the dark. The boy collapsed onto the ground, shaking. The dog limped back to him and laid down at his side. Blood mixed with rain on his fur. The boy held the dog, crying freely now. Soon, police arrived. They wrapped the boy in a warm blanket and called for help. A kind woman knelt beside him, speaking softly. She looked at the dog and nodded with respect. An ambulance came for the dog. The boy refused to let go until he was promised they would take care of him. As the doors closed, the dog looked back at the boy, tail moving weakly. Alex stayed with the boy. It was a promise. The storm slowly faded, but the bond formed that night would never fade. Both had faced fear and survived together. The road slowly became quiet again, but the feeling of that night stayed heavy in the air. Rain still fell, softer now, as if the storm itself was tired. The boy sat in the police car, watching the ambulance lights disappear. His chest hurt with worry, but also with hope. He knew something important had changed inside him. For the first time, someone had stood up for him without asking for anything back. The memory of the dog's brave eyes gave him strength. Even as the cold night continued, a small light had entered his life. That light would guide him forward, no matter how long the road ahead seemed. He did not know the future yet, but he knew one truth clearly. Kindness had saved him, and courage could come from the most unexpected places that night. Morning came slowly, soft and gray, as rain finally stopped falling. The boy woke up on a narrow bed inside a quiet room. White walls surrounded him. The smell of medicine filled the air. His body felt warm, but his heart felt empty. He remembered the night, the rain, and the dog. A nurse smiled and spoke gently. She told him he was safe now. He nodded, but his eyes searched the room. He asked about the dog. The nurse paused, then said the dog was alive and getting care. Relief washed over him like sunlight. Later, a social worker arrived. She spoke kindly and listened carefully. The boy told his story in simple words. He spoke about fear, about running, and about the dog who stood in front of him. The woman wrote notes and promised help. Across town, the dog lay in a small clinic. His leg was bandaged, and his body rested on a soft blanket. He felt pain, but he also felt calm. Hands touched him with care, not anger. Voices sounded gentle. He slept, dreaming of rain and a small boy's arms. Days passed. The boy stayed in a safe place with other children. He ate warm food and slept without fear. Still, every night he thought about the dog. He wondered if the dog remembered him too. He hoped they would meet again. The dog slowly healed. He learned to walk again without sharp pain. The people at the clinic talked about finding him a home. He wagged his tail, but his eyes searched the door. He waited, not knowing for whom, only knowing he should wait. One afternoon, the social worker visited the clinic. She had heard the story many times. She wanted to see the dog herself. When she knelt beside him, the dog stood and wagged his tail. She smiled, feeling something special. She made a call. Papers were signed. Plans were made. The boy was told the news the next morning. He could see the dog again. His face lit up with joy. He could not stop smiling. The meeting happened in a small yard under a clear sky. The boy stepped forward slowly. The dog looked up, ears rising. For a moment, time stopped. Then the dog ran, limping slightly, straight into the boy's arms. They held each other, laughing and crying. The bond was still there, strong and real. People around them watched in silence, moved by the scene. The boy learned he would be adopted by a kind family. They welcomed the dog too. The boy finally had a home where shouting did not live. The dog finally had hands that only showed love. Weeks later, the rain returned lightly, but it no longer brought fear. The boy and the dog watched it from a warm window. Together, they felt safe. That night had changed everything. Pain had led them together. Courage had kept them alive. Kindness had given them a future. And sometimes, That is how life heals broken hearts, one brave moment at a time. The boy began school again with hope in his steps. He learned new words, drew pictures, and laughed freely. When fear tried to return, he looked at the dog and felt strong. The dog followed him everywhere, patient and proud. Walks became their favorite time. Neighbors smiled as they passed. Slowly, trust grew between them and the world. The past did not vanish, but it lost power. The boy understood that being brave did not mean being loud. It meant standing up even when shaking. The dog showed him that love can protect even when it is wounded. Together, they faced mornings and nights with courage. Their story spread quietly, not through noise, but through example. People learned that kindness can begin in the rain and end in light. Each day brought small victories. Smiles replaced tears. Silence replaced shouting. The boy slept deeply, dreaming of safe roads and bright skies. The dog rested at his feet, always watching. They were no longer alone. They were family, bound by choice and courage. Hope grew quietly, steady, and true, guiding them forward with patience, trust, and endless care together. Life slowly began to feel normal for the boy and the dog together at last. Mornings were calm, filled with soft light and quiet routines. The boy woke without fear and dressed for school with care. The dog waited by the door every day, tail ready. Outside, the world seemed kinder, as if it noticed their healing and respected their fragile peace. Nothing felt rushed anymore. They breathed slowly together. At school, the boy struggled at first with noise and sudden sounds. Loud voices made his hands shake and his chest tighten fast. Teachers noticed his silence and gave him space and time. Each afternoon, he rushed home, knowing the dog waited. That waiting became his strength, a reminder that safety could exist without pain or fear. It slowly rewired his heart and thoughts into hope and trust again inside. The dog also changed in quiet ways that few people noticed. He slept deeper and barked less at shadows passing by. His body healed, but more importantly, his spirit softened. He followed the boy everywhere, watching carefully, always alert. Trust had once been dangerous for him. Now it felt warm, steady, and worth protecting with his entire being. He finally felt chosen and needed by someone small yet brave inside. The family watched their bond grow stronger each passing day. They understood healing did not happen overnight. Some nights the boy woke from bad dreams, shaking and afraid. The dog rose instantly, pressing close until breathing slowed again. No words were needed. Comfort lived in presence, patience, and quiet loyalty that spoke louder than promises ever could. It rebuilt trust piece by piece without forcing time or fear on them. One evening, rain returned, tapping softly against the windows again. The boy felt tense at first, memories stirring quietly inside him. He froze, listening carefully to every sound. The dog noticed and moved closer, resting his head on the boy's knee. Slowly, fear loosened its grip. The rain no longer meant danger. It became only sound shared safely with someone guarding him through patience, love, and presence alone that night. Word of the rescue slowly spread through the neighborhood without drama or praise. People spoke quietly about courage, loyalty, and timing. Some left food for stray animals after hearing the story. Small changes followed. Kindness moved softly from house to house. The boy did not seek attention. He only smiled more, understanding that bravery could inspire goodness without shouting, and fear could finally lose control over broken hearts everywhere nearby. The boy began to speak more freely about his feelings with gentle honesty. He learned that pain could be shared safely. His new family listened without judgment, offering time instead of pressure. The dog stayed nearby during every conversation, grounding him. Together, they learned that healing was not about forgetting the past, but about building something stronger beside it with patience, courage, and quiet love earned through hardships shared together. Days turned into months, and routines became trusted anchors. Walks in the park replaced restless nights. Laughter slowly replaced silence. The dog healed fully, running again with joyful strength. The boy grew taller and steadier. They faced storms together, knowing fear no longer owned them. The bond they built was simple, strong, and unbreakable through any weather ahead because trust had finally taken root deep within their shared lives now. Sometimes the boy remembered the dark road and heavy rain clearly. Those memories no longer controlled him. He had survived and grown beyond them. The dog sensed these thoughts and stayed close, reminding him of strength found in connection. Together, they proved that rescue could work both ways. Saving someone else can quietly save you too when hearts choose courage over fear, even during storms once feared long ago then. Their story was never about miracles or loud heroes. It was about choice in a hard moment. A wounded dog chose to stand. A frightened boy chose to trust. From that choice, life slowly changed direction. Rain no longer symbolized pain, but beginnings. And somewhere in every storm, courage waited quietly to be chosen again, guiding broken souls towards safer roads ahead, with hope, patience, love, and trust always present. Years passed quietly, like pages turning without noise. The boy was no longer small, but the memories of that night still lived gently inside him. They no longer hurt. They reminded him how far he had come. Each morning he woke with purpose, knowing he was safe, loved, and understood. The dog grew older too, his steps slower, his face marked with gray, but his eyes still watched with the same loyalty. Life brought new challenges, as it always does. School became harder, friendships tested patience, and the world sometimes felt unfair again. When stress returned, the boy remembered the rain and the road. He remembered standing behind a wounded dog who refused to move. That memory became his strength. Courage did not mean never feeling fear. It meant moving forward anyway. The dog stayed close through every stage of growing up. He waited outside classrooms, slept beside homework desks, and followed the boy through quiet streets. They had their own language made of looks, pauses, and trust. No one else needed to understand it. What mattered was that they did. One autumn evening, clouds gathered again, heavy and dark. Rain began to fall, steady and cold. The boy stood by the window, watching water slide down the glass. He felt calm. The storm no longer owned him. He opened the door and stepped outside with the dog. Together, they walked into the rain without fear. Neighbors watched from windows, surprised by the quiet confidence of the moment. The boy smiled, letting rain touch his face. The dog walked beside him, proud and peaceful. The road that once felt endless now felt familiar and safe. As time moved on, the dog grew weaker. His body slowed, and rest came often. The boy noticed and adjusted his steps, matching the pace with care. Love taught patience. One night, the dog rested his head on the boy's lap and slept deeply. The boy stayed still, understanding this moment mattered. When the time came to say goodbye, it was gentle. No storm, no fear, no pain. Only quiet gratitude. The boy held the dog, whispering thanks for courage, protection, and love. The bond did not end. It simply changed shape. After the loss, the boy felt silence again, but it was different. It did not threaten him. It taught him reflection. He honored the dog by caring for others, helping animals, and speaking kindly to children who felt unseen. He learned that lessons earned through pain become gifts when shared with compassion and honesty. He volunteered at shelters, listened to stories, and gave time without asking for praise. Each act felt like a continuation of that first brave stand. The dog lived on through choices, values, and quiet strength shaping his life. Years later, the boy stood on a rainy road again, now grown, helping a scared child find shelter. His voice was calm. His hands were steady. Somewhere inside him, a familiar strength stood firm. He had become what once saved him. He understood life would always include storms, but hearts could learn to stand. Rain continued to fall, as it always will, but fear no longer followed it. Courage lived on, passed quietly from one heart to another, just like that night when a wounded dog chose to stand. He often shared the story with gentle care, never for pity, but for hope. He explained that strength can come from broken places and heroes may arrive without warning. Children listened closely, parents paused, and even strangers felt something shift inside. The boy reminded them that standing up does not always require size or power. Sometimes it only requires choice. The lesson stayed with many people. It changed small actions, kind words, and moments of courage. Ray no longer sounded the same to those who heard his story. It became a reminder that darkness can carry beginnings. Through patience and kindness, pain can become purpose. And through love, fear can slowly lose its voice forever. These truths continued spreading quietly, shaping lives, guiding decisions, and reminding everyone that compassion can rise even on the coldest nights when hope seems lost and paths appear empty and endless, but hearts still endure.